Welcome to the History Talks. I'm Will and I'm here with Sebastian. In this episode we continue discussing the reign of Tiberius. In our last episode we concluded with the triumph after Tiberius' first campaign as emperor. So Sebastian, what happened next?
Tiberius set precedent by approving the construction of temples to Augustus, the first being erected in what is now Tarraco, Spain. Furthermore to the divinity of Augustus, there were incidents in which people were convicted of treason for ridiculing the late emperor. The prolonging of the proconsulship of Poppaeus Sabinus over Moesia, Achaia, and Macedonia by Tiberius seemed to be a theme of his reign, with many commanders holding on to their territory and legions for life. Tiberius and Germanicus then planned another campaign into Germany, this time using a fleet to sail up and down rivers connected to the Rhine, and Germanicus led them to eventually meet Arminius' army at the Visurgis River. This time the Romans won against Arminius, being more used to the woods terrain and having tactics to actually deal with it.
So they learned from the mistakes of their previous campaign, updated their tactics, and won.
Right. The victory is described by Tacitus as territorially indecisive, but it did grant the Romans spoils in terms of wealth, and allowed them to recover the legionary standards lost by Varus, which was even more important from the Roman perspective. After this victory, Tiberius began to make it clear that he intended Germanicus to be his heir, giving him command of the Eastern Empire.
With a name like Germanicus, was he a German that served the Romans, or was he born as a Roman?
He was born as a Roman. He was called Germanicus because it was typical for Roman generals who conquered a large region to be named after part of the region they conquered. Scipio Africanus, for example, is Scipio the African. He's actually named after the continent of Africa rather than the other way around. Now, in the same year, the Tiber River, which is the river Rome itself is built on, flooded, which caused a great deal of destruction. Tiberius first appointed 2 men to figure out plans to prevent further floods. A plan was put forth to try to dam up or otherwise divert the courses of tributary rivers like the Nar, but the people who lived near these rivers begged for such projects not to continue, partially on account of agriculture. Their food production was based on these rivers, and partially based on religion. They had many sacred rites and rituals to the gods that involved these rivers. And based on these, Tiberius ended up vetoing the project.
Interesting. I'm surprised Tiberius listened to them and didn't prioritize protecting Rome.
A man named Lucius Piso, who had previously served on a campaign in Hispania, who seems to have advised Tiberius on domestic policy, was given the governorship of Syria, but also more broad Eastern authority that made him a check on the power of Germanicus. The two were in great conflict with each other, and they kept reversing each other's decisions. Eventually, Germanicus fell ill and accused Piso of poisoning him. After Germanicus died, most people agreed that Piso was guilty of poisoning. At first, Piso holed himself up in a fortress in Syria with his legions to resist arrest, but he was eventually captured and put on trial.
So Germanicus died while Tiberius was still alive. Did Tiberius have another successor selected?
Not yet. He did not have a backup. Piso's family had previously been a supporter of Augustus and Tiberius, and so Tiberius granted Piso leeway in the form of extra time to plead his case during the trial, but Piso committed suicide before he could be sentenced.
Do you think Piso was guilty, or was he scapegoated?
We have no way of knowing.
Alright, that concludes our episode on Tiberius. Tune in next time for the History Talks.
And remember, if you like the video, like, subscribe, and leave a comment to support the channel.